Today's Circle Sessions, and I'm here with Mikey. Just going to talk to him about what God's doing in his life. So, Mikey, so you've been kind of on this journey with us for a few months now, and he lived up here before we got here, a few years before we got here, and kind of joined the team, and he's now all in this process of church planting. What has God been teaching you, and what have you learned in this journey that we've been on for the past few months?
I would say the biggest thing that God's been teaching me for sure is patience, because for a while, when I first moved here, I really had no reason. I thought to myself, why am I here? Why am I being sent here to live in Boston? For probably, knowing ahead of time that it was probably going to be about 3 or 4 years. And just more like just wondering, because I would remind myself, hey, that God puts you in places for a reason. You won't know what it may be right then and there, or the first few weeks, months, years, but it's for a reason. And I struggled with that back and forth. I was thinking to myself, I'm gonna go somewhere overseas, I'm gonna apply somewhere else, get a different job just to get out of here. And at certain points in my life, I felt like I was straying away from what God really taught me, or straying away from the vision that I may or may not know, have an idea what it may be. And over time, I learned to appreciate where I had. I've been spoken to a lot about growing where you're planted, and I really didn't understand that concept, because they say, wherever you get sent at, it's what you make of it. You grow where you're planted. And I felt to myself, yeah, that makes sense. Yeah. But at the same time, I was in that mindset where it was, I was like, I don't want to be here. And then it wasn't until I met you, where my pastor, went to a conference that you guys were at, and how he knew I wasn't, he knew where I was at, and I was in Boston. And when you spoke to him about planting a church here, this was when I was in Florida for a week, and he messaged me saying, hey, do you live around this area? And I said, yeah, in Boston. And say, I have a friend of mine that's planning a church, and do you mind if I connect him with you? And I said, oh yeah, of course. And I felt really excited, because that was a point where when I was in Florida, I learned I was doing the transition, people changing, people leaving back home, and just simply more like people growing up, moving forward at other chapters in their lives. And I felt that was, that I learned a lot, like just being there. I was there for vacation, but I felt there that God was also teaching me, like, that you have to move on. There's different seasons in your life, and then you have to move forward. You may not know where you're gonna go, what's ahead, but what you used to know or may used to know, they will change, and it could be a positive change. It could be not so positive. It depends. But if you follow where God wants you to be at, then you'll be fine. And I felt that was confirmed when, fast forward to now. I never thought it was going to happen, but being here and planning helping you and accepting me to help you part of your team and plant this church, and that was a huge blessing, because I feel like that was the biggest reveal as to a big part as to why I'm here. So I would say patience, patience and humbleness, and not trying to get ahead of yourself. Try to always realign your focus with what God is looking for, what God where wants you to go in your life. And even though it may not be, at first it may not seem glamorous, but over time, when you invest more, God wants you to go out of your comfort zone. You'll see like the fruits of your labor of being here. And I felt that I learned a lot. It was a huge lesson, and it's a lesson that's still going on today.
So Mikey, what I'm hearing you saying essentially is that God has you where you are for a reason. No matter what season you're in, no matter where you are, even if it looks like or feels like, why am I here? This doesn't even make sense. And I just feel like that really could speak to a lot of people that are watching this right now. So what would you say to somebody who's in that season right now?
For someone who's in that season now where they're not sure the direction they're going, or they have, they're spiritual, have God in their heart, they're not sure where God's leading them to, I would say if you're in that season where you're not sure, I would say continue to persevere, continue to be patient, continue to be humble, because there's going to be moments, obviously, where you're frustrated or emotional, and you ask yourself or ask God, why am I here? And I would say there's going to be you're going to tell that to God, and God's going to provide opportunities, even though in those weird moments, for you to move forward your purpose. And you may feel like it's insignificant. It doesn't go towards what you want to do in life, maybe with your career. Maybe you want to do IT work or become a pastor or travel overseas. Every little bit of thing you do that's presented in front of you goes towards that. There's no giant event that's going to happen in your life that jumps forward to what you want to do or where you feel like God is leading you to. It builds up over time. And whether for me, for example, I want to do IT work at the overall, being here, simply being here, connecting with people, just talking to people, talking to you, talking to anyone, just going on a venture, and interacting with people. You build networks, you build relationships, and that, those could carry you for the rest of your life. And the same thing applies to where you're at. So I would just say persevere. Yeah. Continue to persevere, continue to push forward. How we talked about before, being here for a few years, and now I'm here with you, part of your launch team. It does pay off. And you just have those frustrating moments. Talk to someone who feel, a mentor or someone you could vent out to, give you a different perspective, because you can't do it alone. Nobody can do it alone. It's a whole team effort. It's a group effort. So I would just say, use your resources. Don't feel like you're by yourself, that you're not the only one that's moving forward, that has a purpose. It's a collective effort. Yeah. And so I'll continue to move forward. And it's not just you. We have there's a whole body, a whole community, to help you through that.
Love it. I know I'm wearing a jacket, but it's actually not cold. That's all I wanted to say. I'm kind of sweating in my armpits. Can I say that on?